Hello and welcome back. For those of you asking, I'm not trying to be like Undoomed. I'm not trying to be like Undoomed at all. Alright guys? Stop bugging me about it. Not even close to Undoomed, okay? This is not Undoomed style at all. Anyways, for today's video, we're taking a look at the Vice channel. Their latest report was a bit controversial to say the least. It's called The Black Women's Defense League Taking Aim at Racism and Misogyny. Yeah, sounds fun. Let's check it out.
We are still slaves to this day, whether it be mental, financial, material, spiritual.
If you still think you're slaves to this day, then it's definitely mental. And it's because you think of yourself as a slave, so you've become one. You're a trans slave, so to speak.
These are things that we have to attack on every side because the enemy is attacking on every side.
I wonder who they think is attacking them. Like, really, who is it?
This is why we have self-defense classes, to make sure we can have the best response when we are doing non-armed or armed rescues.
We are warriors.
Really? You don't look like warriors to me. Warriors don't wear glasses and jewelry and stupid nose rings. Of course, they're all shooting white men. Come on, guys.
In America, black women face a unique set of threats. Their concerns involve a deadly combination of racism and violent patriarchy.
I really don't see how black women are suffering under racism or violent patriarchy. If it was really happening, I'd be concerned and I'd be the first person to stand up for them, but so far, all I've seen is black women claiming they're oppressed, with no proof. Frankly, I don't see how black women are in any different situation than the other demographics in America, like white women or black men or Asian guys. Perhaps it's because there are so many single black mothers living so poorly in so many ghettos across the country, living off welfare and food stamps, and in some twisted way, these girls have blamed those shitty stats on racism. Well, I see the plight, but I don't believe it's a racist patriarchy that put black women in these unfortunate situations. I myself like to treat black women the same way I treat all women, or men for that matter. I treat them like adults who make life choices and are responsible for their own actions. That means black women are doing things to themselves that have caused them to struggle. No one is forcing sisters to get pregnant when they can't afford it. No one is telling them to drop out of school. Take responsibility for your own lives, ladies. That's the first step.
Every 19 hours in America, a black woman is killed by a man. And once every 21 hours, a black woman is killed by a black man. The Black Women's Defense League is showing these women how to fight back.
We will fight just as valiantly against the oppressor for each other.
It sounds so cult-like when you speak of the oppressor. It sounds like a cheesy wrestler name. Today we've got Rey Mysterio Jr. in this corner fighting against our newcomer, the patriarchy's own, the oppressor. Let's get ready to grumble and complain about racism.
In terms of this house, do you guys have guns here?
Yeah. Guns were actually involved in the civil rights movement because of the fact that there might be a cross burning in your front yard. It was because of the fact your daughter might go to church and there's a bomb in the church. It's just that that history has been hidden.
That history has not been hidden. We are aware of the civil rights movement. If you or people you know think there's some hidden history, it's because you're too ignorant to know about it. Go to school, take a history class. They talk about this shit all the time. Just because this is new for you doesn't mean the world is hiding the history. I mean, the example clips you're showing happened 60 fucking years ago. It's in black and white, for Christ's sake. I find this akin to the guy in high school or college who just discovered a classic rock band and then becomes obsessed with them, wearing their shirts, playing their jams, talking about them all day. I just want to be like, dude, we've heard of Led fucking Zeppelin. You're way behind on this. And to these Defense League bitches, I just want to say, hey girls, we've all heard of the fucking civil rights movement. We have equality now. It's time to move on.
What is the aesthetic element of the gun and style, and is that something that's important to you?
You know, like when people see women holding guns, it's automatically sexy. It doesn't matter if she's wearing a burqa.
That woman is sexy with the gun. This woman is not, nor is this woman. Not sexy at all.
Black women should be a priority just by the numbers. More black women died as a result of intimate partner violence than black men get killed by the police.
I don't know what to make of this comparison. I think this guy is trying to garner support away from Black Lives Matter, to be honest. Stressing black women deaths are higher than black men deaths from cops. To me, it seems like there's a bigger problem here they're missing. Violence in the black community overall. That's why there's so many deaths, women and men.
We have this thing of this in-house We don't want nobody outside the house to know what's going on. We don't want you to know that uncle next door has touched every woman in the house and he still get to come to the family picnics. And why is this not dealt with? That's something that we come to shed light on. Not only do we have to fight the man, we got to fight our man.
Let me translate that for you. I happen to speak a little nigganese. This young black lady has suggested that black people like to keep their business in-house, meaning they take care of their own problems, no calling the cops or government. Then she goes on to tell a tale of a black uncle who has inappropriately touched, fondled, or even sexually assaulted all the women in his family. But this man is not in jail because the black family has chosen to keep things in-house, rather than calling the police. Our narrator then concludes that they are not only fighting the man, meaning white men, but they're also fighting their men, meaning black men. Got that? Now how do you feel after digesting that little nugget of black culture? I know I'm disgusted. I think I need a cigarette.
At the end of the day, we have a common goal, which is ultimately liberation, but at the very least, the well-being and safety of our sisters.
I don't know what you need liberation from. You're in the freest country in the world. Prisoners of war need liberation. The people of North Korea need liberation. You girls just need to get real jobs and grow up. Maybe hit the gym a little bit. We'll get your blood flowing, make you feel better. And if you get the feeling you need liberation again, just remember that 150 years ago, your ancestors were actually in need of liberation from slavery. And guess who freed them? White men. White Republicans, to be specific. Chew on that for a minute.
It's one of the most racially segregated major metropolitan cities in the country, with extreme economic inequality. Not to mention, the city's police department has a woeful record of handling sex crimes for women, and was until recently one of the country's most dismal when it came to police-involved shootings.
And now we're back to blaming the cops for the crimes they're trying to stop. Great. So Vice is saying the cops mishandle a lot of sex crimes and they shoot a lot of black people, who are committing crimes, by the way. Well, I see how you're trying to skew this and blame the cops, but I'm gonna go ahead and blame the fucking criminals. The problem here is the high numbers of sex crimes and the high numbers of violent criminals who need to get shot. The cops are not the problem. They're the solution. Black crime is the real culprit here.
I had a pretty sheltered life. Both of my parents were Catholic.
Had you had any experience back then with guns or gun violence?
No, actually. Like, I've never been a big fan of guns, to tell you the truth. I think that they're probably one of the worst inventions on Earth.
I don't see how you could think guns are the worst invention on Earth while at the same time running a women's gun club. That's basically what they are, and I'm okay with the gun part, actually. If people want to train and safely carry firearms, that's fine with me. But the Black Women's Defense League also pushes anti-white feminist agendas, and that's where we've really got beef.
My grandmother had a deep love for politics. I grew up watching CNN and MSNBC, and I knew all of the senators and who the Republicans were.
Grew up watching CNN. No wonder you're a racist idiot.
And really, I was drinking the Kool-Aid for a while. Like, I really thought that that's what it was, and I loved my grandmother. I trusted her, but I started going to protests and things like that.
Funny thing is, she's actually drinking the Kool-Aid now more than she was before. Before, it sounds like she was your average American, no guns, watching CNN at home. Now she's carrying firearms, going to protests in a feminist cult that preaches about patriarchy and nebulous oppressors. Which sounds more cult-like to you?
You were in Huey P. Newton Gun Club. What happened that you sort of left that organization and started your own thing?
There were issues with sexism. There were issues with an individual that I had been dealing with romantically, and there was some violence that occurred between him and I.
I'm willing to bet that sexism claim was just her arguing with her boyfriend. Women with this kind of victim complex will always say you're sexist or racist. You can't disagree with them on anything. Disagreeing with a woman is sexist now.
The response wasn't one of support. They, pretty much ignored it. And then at the point when I became more vocal about it and I started requiring that there be something done about these types of things, they literally sent me an email and they were just like, we don't deal with this type of stuff and we're not gonna tolerate it and you need to stop.
So I was reading these emails trying to get to the bottom of this girl's abuse story. It looks like on the bottom here, Niecy was posting feminist stuff in the name of her former gun club. They told her to stop, but she said no. So they kicked her out. Regardless of the specifics, this is not sexist. Niecy broke the club rules, was warned, and then justly booted. Looks like their empty claims of racism before were not alone. Now we've got empty claims of sexism.
We reached out to the Huey P. Newton Gun Club about their handling of Niecy's allegations. They said that Niecy was not part of the gun club at the time the alleged incident took place, and say that the Black Women's Defense League was a male-bashing feminist movement fueled by a hateful stance towards men.
Well, it sounds like that other gun club was fucking spot on. Kudos to them for calling a spade a spade.
And I'll be honest, there was a lot that I didn't know about women's issues before I started to study it, and I became an unwilling example of why it's necessary.
Basically, she's saying she didn't even know she had issues as a woman until she Googled it and found bogus information backing up her preconceived notions. That's called confirmation bias, hun. And if you didn't know you had issues before, maybe you never had them at all.
The Black Women's Defense League is following that tradition of providing support for the people in this community by giving young kids food and support and love.
What you supposed to say? You're welcome.
I was trying to be civil here, but this big bitch can't even keep her pants zipped up. I bet it was the patriarchy that made her eat all this fried chicken.
The gun in and of itself is a tool, right? It's a tool, and that's it. If I had it my way, guns wouldn't exist. However, if you're providing education and knowledge of self, then it becomes useful for what it is, which is self-defense. Because in the event that you or a family member needs to use it, it's really important that it's not something that's scary to you.
I can agree with that. Guns are important for self-defense, and basic knowledge about gun safety and aiming and shooting, that's good for anyone to learn.
What's happening right now is the Black Women's Defense League has been coming here to this low-income area to give food to the children, but because it's private property, the direct manager has been saying, yo, you can't do it. And they called the police.
We've been coming here weeks and weeks and been doing these different things and giving people clothes and shoes and hygiene products. And everybody is enjoying it, and they know they're in need of it, but the problem is they have a racist, maybe 5 or less than that racist people who have a problem with Black people doing positive shit.
They don't have a problem with Black people doing positive shit. They have a problem with any people trespassing on their property, causing a scene, and bringing in tables and chairs and a whole fucking camera crew. I'm sorry you need permission to do things like this, but your lack of knowledge about getting permits doesn't mean everyone else is racist. I find it pretty disturbing seeing a little Black girl walk through the ghetto chanting Black Power. And this whole giving food and information to kids seems wrong too, coming from this group. The Black Women's Defense League is a violent, anti-white, anti-male cult who's trying to indoctrinate children. That, or this whole food giveaway, is all a big staged photo op. They probably don't even regularly do this community outreach bullshit, unless there's cameras around.
Of course, being a Black gun owner is a dangerous proposition in a country that has historically criminalized Black gun ownership. From the birth of this nation through Jim Crow, it was illegal in some states for Blacks to even possess guns. And modern gun control, as we know it, began as a conservative cause pushed forth by politicians like Ronald Reagan in the 60s to keep firearms out of the hands of groups like the Black Panthers. Many argue that this legacy continues today.
Many argue this legacy continues today? Nice pivot there, Vice. Unfortunately, you're wrong. Jim Crow was 60 years ago. Blacks are not being persecuted by gun laws today, or any laws. It's current year. If you have to use black and white footage to prove a point, it's not relevant today.
They cite cases like Marissa Alexander, a woman who served 3 years in prison for firing a warning shot at her abusive husband in Florida, the same state where George Zimmerman got off scot-free after killing Trayvon Martin.
Vice is getting really shifty at the end here. So they're saying this woman should not have went to jail because Zimmerman shot Trayvon Martin in the same state? How the fuck does that make sense? And by the way, a little detail you left out about that shooting, Zimmerman didn't murder Trayvon. It was self-defense. Trayvon Martin jumped Zimmerman and reached for his gun. That's why Zimmerman wasn't even charged with murder. And as for relating his case to the other ladies, I don't really see the point.
But when you're an armed group and have a gun involved and you start talking about privileges, white privilege, say for example, John Crawford was shot in an open carry state. If it's an open carry state and I'm in a Walmart carrying a gun, why would you shoot me on site, even if the gun is real?
Because open carry doesn't mean you can have a gun out and be waving it around in public. That's what Crawford was doing, talking on his cell phone in a Walmart while waving around a BB gun. Sure, that's not a real heavy-duty gun, but it's close enough to cause alarm, and someone could still get injured. And also, when the police came, Crawford ran, and that's why he was shot. This is why you should never listen to these black supremacist, anti-white, Black Lives Matter kinds of people, especially when they bring up shootings and court cases. They always fucking lie about them and misrepresent them. And this guy started the Crawford story mentioning white privilege. This has nothing to do with that, you retard. There is no white privilege. I can just tell he has these bullshit shootings and all these bullshit facts ready to sling out like this at any time. It's just bullshit buzzwords. They mean nothing.
On July 7th, Nisi attended a peaceful demonstration against police brutality. The demonstration was in response to the police shooting of Philando Castile, a legal gun owner who was killed by a cop after announcing that he was in possession of a firearm.
God damn, they're hitting all the big classic bullshit shootings they can with this one. I've gone over this so many times, it's almost become robotic. Philando Castile was shot because he was reaching when the cops told him not to. He was also carrying a weapon and wanted for violent crime. If you're black and don't want to get shot, it's pretty fucking easy. First, don't carry a gun. Second, don't reach for a gun. And third, listen to the orders of the police officers. That's it. It's pretty simple. If Philando didn't have a gun, didn't reach for it, and listened to the cops, he would still be alive today. Well, that's all for today's episode. What do you guys think? Is the Black Women's Defense League a feminist group of man-haters? Should people be carrying concealed firearms for protection? Comment below, and thanks for watching No Bullshit. See y'all next time.
We on that bullshit, yeah. We on that bullshit,